Hello, I'm EnterElysium and welcome to AFK News. Today, XCOM 2 has been announced. It was likely to happen. We thought it would happen, but it's been announced and there's a trailer, and basically I'm going to spend the entire episode deconstructing the trailer, talking about what we're expecting, what is going to be new, and basically fanboying. So look forward to that. So, XCOM 2 has finally been announced. We kind of expected it would happen for several reasons. Firstly, XCOM 1 was amazing and did really well. Also, Long War mod for XCOM Unknown, Enemy Unknown got kind of a lot of help recently, or at least a little bit of help recently, which made me go, maybe they're trying to make people think about XCOM some more because they're releasing another one. And thirdly, because there was actually a little site up for the last few days going, something to do with a new game or something. And in it had like some hints at XCOM. So the trailer came out literally a few hours ago. IGN got first whacked it, so I'll put a link up somewhere to the trailer. There'll be a link down below if there isn't one on the screen. And you can go watch that there. I'm going to basically take little bits from this and talk about what's new, what's changed, and some other stuff like that. So the next XCOM game, currently titled XCOM 2, takes place 20 years from now. So the original XCOM game was about defending the world from an alien invasion. The new game appears to take place after you have failed the first game. Aliens control the planet, or at least the vast majority of it. I really kind of dig this because most games are like, well, the previous game, it was the canon ending is this one where you win. I like the idea of a canon ending where you lost the previous game. It's just kind of interesting. But basically, it takes place 20 years from now, where the XCOM project has failed, aliens control the world, and everyone's sort of grouping up in these cities. A bit like a reverse XCOM apocalypse, where you'd play as a city and you'd defend it. Now, the aliens actually have the cities, and the aliens are controlling people, and you will see people patrolling the streets in sort of this very large police planet, and, you know, people are scanned. There's humans fighting alongside the aliens on each corner with, like, guns. And you play as the Resistance Movement, a freedom fighter terrorist organization called, well, we presume, XCOM, basically trying to liberate the planet from these aliens. And you see, you know, occasionally sectoids on the streets, etc., sort of looking after, watching over the sort of the human enforcement squads, whatever you want to call them. And there's a couple of new things here. Firstly, I really like the idea of fighting a offensive war rather than being defensive. In the first game, it felt a bit weird. For a start, you'd be like, right, we downed an alien UFO, and we got all of this alloy, and we can build one gun from it. That felt a little bit weird and contrived. Also, taking 20 days to build one gun and having to do all the manufacturing yourself felt really odd when you've got an entire planet, technically. That just felt a little bit weird. I mean, you know, it's mostly okay, but it's still a bit odd. Now, when you're actually, you know, moving around, trying to defend yourself, trying to scavenge for resources, and trying to literally hang on to, you know, this sort of very last thread of humanity that's free, there's a reason for it. And I really, really dig that. And actually, now it makes a lot more sense than the original XCOM Enemy Unknown. That it actually makes sense for that. You have this mobile flying base, and you have a newly designed Sky Ranger, which you will go to, and you're basically moving your base around, trying to avoid the aliens so they try hunt you down. That's kind of awesome. I kind of really dig this idea. So in 20 years' time, you've got these cities that you've got to basically sort of infiltrate and do stuff in, and one presume you've got like missions where you'd have like the options to go for resource missions, maybe story missions or something, maybe something like recruitment missions. Don't know at this stage. But it does involve a lot of going to places where there will be other humans. So maybe we'll see, you know, stuff like, you know, the terror missions in XCOM Enemy Unknown, where you'd have to go in and like save people or something. That's possible. But that's going to be kind of interesting. As for the XCOM themselves, what's changed there? They have mentioned there being extra classes. Now, this is something that kind of was a little bit necessary in some regards, because XCOM Long War mod had 8 classes, and it basically doubled the number from the XCOM Enemy Unknown. And it kind of proved that, you know, extra classes were pretty cool. Some of the stuff did need to be stretched out, because in the original XCOM you had like a guy with a heavy machine gun and a rocket launcher, and he was just a little bit OP and had kind of all the firepower. And being able to split that up would be a good idea. What I imagine they'll do with the extra classes is maybe go from 4 to possibly 6. I don't think they'll go to 8, but my guess is they'll go to something like 6, and I imagine they will take the heavy and remove the gun and the rocket and put them on separate classes, so you've got a rocketeer and a heavy, because that was one that definitely came up, as mentioned, by a lot of people going, this is a little bit, you know, he's really, really good, maybe just you take the 2 bits away. So they have mentioned that. They've also hinted in the trailer at having a melee option. Now, this is a trailer, it's entirely meant to be badass, it might not be a realistic depiction of actual gameplay, but there is a guy with a sword. Technically, I kind of go at a sword. It is a sword. It's basically a long bladed machete, in effect. It's more utilitarian rather than combat-y in my view. But he has it, and he uses it to stab a slash a sectoid. This would be kind of cool. I'm a little bit hesitant about melee, because just in case melee gets too much focus over guns, because it's meant to be, you know, pretty futuristic with guns, so unless they've got a reason like some sort of field projectors or something to defend against bullets, it would seem to be weird to put too much emphasis on melee. But having a melee option would be really, really nice. I did find that at least once or twice I ended up with no ammo right next to an alien, and the alien had 1 HP, and I was like, can I just punch the alien? Like, just elbow him. Seriously. And that would be really nice. So hopefully they'll have a melee option, because, you know, that's something I did feel maybe an occasion was lacking. That I would really like if they go for that. It also looks really badass in the trailer. So that's going to be the changes to XCOM, you know, the fact they've got a movable base and some new classes. Changes to the aliens. The sectoid looks scary rather than just big-eyed, grey sort of complexion. No, they look actually like teeth, and they look a lot bigger. They look fairly scary. There'll also be human enemies. You have, you know, a number of human enemies you can fight. Presumably, you know, looking at some of these screenshots, it does suggest there might be stealth gameplay in that people aren't alerted and you try and infiltrate, which would make a lot of sense considering it's sort of a resistance force you're playing as. So I would like that. Stealth gameplay would be pretty awesome. When playing the original XCOM, I did feel, you know, stealth gameplay would be pretty cool here. That would be something I'd like to see. There's also Snake Men. Snake Men were in the original XCOM, not Enemy Unknown, but original XCOM. They kind of fulfilled this role below mutants, above sectoids in sort of dangerousness. Basically where Thin Men sit in Enemy Unknown. And they were slightly different in that they weren't like clones, they were more like mercenaries. This is the Snake Man you see in the trailer. Basically, big snake, human size, maybe a bit bigger, with 2 arms and a gun. Kind of do like the idea, especially considering now Thin Men are kind of meant to be an infiltration unit, and now that the aliens kind of have the planet, they don't maybe need an infiltration unit. So maybe the Snake Men is meant to replace the Thin Men. We don't know, but the Thin Men are back. The Snake Men are back, which I kind of like. What else? Well, we don't know a lot else about the aliens other than the fact that they're seen as like some sort of overlords of the people. So we'll see what's to come with that. What else is there? Ooh, let me have a look. There's procedural level design. They have said that there'll be procedural levels. Now, with the original XCOM Enemy Unknown, they kind of had limited time and limited money, and they went, right, we've got a choice between destructible levels or procedural levels. They went with destructible levels. I kind of agree because it gives you more technical options. You can blow up a wall and walk through it, or you can walk around it. But you did get kind of a samey feeling on a lot of the maps. Now, procedural maps, yes, you don't have to be like, I've seen this map a million times. The maps are procedurally generated. That's amazing. I cannot, yes, this is going to be so good. Procedural levels are probably one of the biggest complaints I had about the original XCOM, that it just didn't have them. This, yes. Yes, I need this. I need this. Yes. What else? There'll be modding support. Long War mod has done really, really well. The you know, XCOM Enemy Unknown and XCOM Enemy Within as well. But that was entirely from basically reverse engineering all the code. They literally had to go through the code and figure out and eventually sort of move it backwards to a stage where they could like make changes and then recompile it. It made it incredibly difficult to add things. It made it basically a process of trial and error in a lot of cases. It made it limited for what they could change and also who could change it. And it meant there weren't actually really that many mods for it, despite it being a fairly popular game. There will be modding support. They have stated outright in this very first release, being like, you know, here's a trailer, here's some words on it. They've gone, right, there'll be modding support. Yes, because they must have seen how well Enemy Unknown's Long War mod did. They must have seen that and gone, right, well, we're still shifting, you know, copies because of modding. We should probably include modding support. I thoroughly love this. I love it. Just, yes, please. In addition, it'll be out for PC. I think there's going to be a port for Mac and Linux, but there's going to be no console. Or at least they haven't said anything about console as of yet. So this is good and bad. Firstly, the bad. Obviously, people on console, I'm sorry, you don't get it. I don't know why this is. Normally, consoles are still pretty popular to the point that, you know, it's actually worth releasing. But maybe it's because Firaxis don't often release on console. Maybe they're inexperienced. Maybe they're at a time sort of deadline and like, well, we're going to maybe think about this later, but not now. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. Enemy Unknown certainly didn't do crazy well on console. It was a little bit disappointing, at least judging from what I can Google, so maybe that's another reason. But the good part is PC copies won't be held back by the limitations of consoles, which is, of course, always the way of this sort of thing. Consoles are pretty poor, especially this generation of consoles are not particularly that advanced compared to, you know, the general technology when they came out. Unlike the last generation consoles, which certainly were a step up. This means that hopefully XCOM can take advantage of technologies that maybe the consoles would lack, especially considering the consoles are fairly new and still haven't really got to grips with how to best use the hardware. Maybe this means that PC copies will actually have, you know, better graphics, better simulation, stuff that they can take advantage of the extra, you know, oomph of a lot of PCs. Hopefully, I don't know, but, you know, if they're saying, you know, we're not doing a console version, that's what I can hope. I don't think there's anything really more to be said other than the fact that they've announced it for this November. Not next year, this November. That's really soon. I want to play this game. I want to hype and play it so much right now. I also really want to cosplay as like an XCOM trooper or Bradford or someone for some reason. I don't know where that's coming from, but I cannot wait. Now, of course, all we've seen is a few words and a pre-rendered CGI trailer that has nothing to do with gameplay. The first gameplay, I think, will be coming out in about 2 weeks, so we'll see then. But as per usual, don't get too hyped and crazy about it, but I am, I would say quietly confident, but I'm not being quiet. I'm pretty loud and confident. We'll see, but I'm pretty hyping right now. Really hard. Anyway, there'll be a link to the trailer down below or somewhere, so you can go watch that like a million times like I did. If you like it or you want to discuss it, go to the comments. And if you like this video, then please remember to like and not subscribe. Please consider subscribing because I will be playing the hell out of this when it finally comes out, although that will be November, so it's a little while away. But I cannot wait. I cannot wait. But until then, I've been EnterElysium, and stay shiny.